Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Anderson, and the lesson for today is entitled The David Principle. The David Principle. Almost 20 years ago, I went to Florence, Italy for the first time, and I went to a gallery, and I will never forget the experience of walking around the corners, people everywhere, and this sense of whiteness in this large well-lit gallery, art gallery, and I walked around the corner, and there, right in front of me, was this massive, powerful, literally breathtaking work of art. Michelangelo's The David, 17 feet tall, bigger than life, and yet at the same time alive. It was my first encounter with an incredibly masterful sculptor. And I think Michelangelo could probably be called the greatest sculptor who has ever lived. And the David is just magnificent. Literally, it looks alive as you look at it. And to think about how this thing was created is just really, really a wonderful story. And so I was so deeply inspired and impressed by it, and I just stood there for quite a long time looking at it, walking around, looking at it from all different kinds of angles, sensing the intensity, the immensity, and the aliveness of this thing carved out of cold marble. An astounding accomplishment. And then, later on, maybe years later, I guess, I read a story. And in this story was an account of what Michelangelo said at one point about creating the David. Apparently, someone came to Michelangelo and said, "Sir, you're a master artist, but how in the world did you carve that David out of such a massive block of marble?" Because the original block of marble was clearly much bigger than the 17-foot David. How did you do that? How did you carve that magnificent creation out of such a rough block of marble? And Michelangelo said something that has stayed with me ever since I've heard it. He said, "I simply chipped away everything that was not David." I simply chipped away everything that was not David. Only a master artist would see it that way. I guess the rest of us would think you had to chip and create David out of that block of marble. But Michelangelo saw the David in the marble, and he liberated it. That was his genius. That was his true genius, is that he didn't see something he had to create. He saw something he had to liberate. I simply chipped away everything that was not David. Now, here we are, centuries later, thinking about this incredible creative work of art, and the question is, what does this have to do with you and me? I think it has a lot to do with us, because my experience in working with people over the years, and I've been doing it almost 40 years now, is that everybody has a David within them. Not the David, not the one that Michelangelo saw, but the one that is the true you. This work of art that is the true you. And our job, as I see it in this lifetime, is to chip away everything that is not the true work of art that we are. Now, the trouble with most of us, I'd say almost everybody falls into this category for some period of time or not, is that we identify with the chips. That block of marble, we think that's who we really are. We look at that thing that we are and we say, I'm just nothing. I'm not important. I'm like a piece of rock. And depending on how we were raised or the level of dysfunction in our families, and there's some dysfunction in everyone that ever existed, we can't see through to the true gift, the true work of art that we are. But Michelangelo, the genius, said, I simply chipped away everything that wasn't David. And what would happen in your life if you began to think about yourself the same way? It would, in my opinion, be a truthful way to think about you. That within you, if you look deeply enough, if you stop looking at the junk and calling it you, and see through the density to that work of art that you are, and work on the process of chipping away everything that is not the true you. I know that's an act of faith. It's an act of vision. It's an act of insight and truly inspiration. But it can make a magnificent difference in your life if you begin the process of saying to yourself, what if I stop identifying with the chips, with the crap, with the junk, with the dust, with the rubble, and look more deeply into myself and see if I can locate that work of art that I truly am. God bless you.